This meeting is called to order. This is the Health, Environmental, Aging, and Disabilities Committee meeting for May 21st, 2025. I am the chair, Councilman Kobe J. Owens from the 1st District. At this time, I will call the roll call for members of the committee first. Councilwoman Will Heller.
Here.
Councilwoman Cabrera, excused. Councilman Fields, excused. Councilman Hackett.
Here.
Council President Congo.
Here.
We have a quorum. We do have one resolution on the agenda today. So I'm going to start there first, and then I will go to the presentations that we have here today. So we have a resolution that is being introduced by myself to the committee. This resolution, again, goes to our strategic plan of having a healthier Wilmington and looking to address health threats. What this resolution would do is add the ability for the city of Wilmington to be able to levy a tax on cigarettes here in the city of Wilmington. This would be per packet sold in the boundaries of the city of Wilmington. This is a resolution that goes down to the Delaware General Assembly. And again, this would be very similar to the cigarette tax that both Philadelphia, New York has. The American Lung Association recommends a tax on cigarettes as well too. We know for every 10% that the price goes up for cigarettes, the about 6 to 7% usage of youth goes down. So that is why I'm bringing this forward to this committee. I will open it up to any questions. Councilman Hackett.
Yeah, I just want to say, well, thank you, Chair. I just want to say thank you for bringing it to the forefront. I also want to mention, and we talk about right now cable and also what it looks like for people that's streaming. My thought process as we go into the future and we look at people that's our youth, not really on the cigarettes, but this vaping thing that's hitting the market. How do we also incorporate that if that's also a possibility to make sure that we don't leave that out as well, especially when we're talking about revenue and also in some type of way is harming our our young era that's coming up today. So just wanted to point that out.
Thank you for that. I 100% agree with you on that. That there are multiple other tobacco products out there, vaping, cigars that have a huge impact on our youth. Hopefully this is just the start of this, but I am definitely open and working with you and any other council members on coming up with additional solutions on how to prevent youth smoking and how to also just have clean air around the city. Any other questions? Seeing none from council members, we'll take it to public comment. If you would like to give public comment, please come up to the mic if you're in person, and then we'll go to online. Please state your name.
Marshall again. I just think that's wrong. I don't smoke, okay? I just think that's wrong with everything else that's going on. I think there's more important things to be done, crime rate and everything else. And everybody attacks anybody that smokes cigarettes, but then they legalize marijuana. I just think that's kind of stupid myself. And I just think it's a wrong move. There's other things that need to be done first. I mean, just the other day there was a shooting, a couple of people were shot. And those problems need to be addressed first. They're more important. Okay? That's all.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone online? No.
There's 3 online, but nobody has a hand.
Okay. Just to address that comment real quick. So While marijuana legalization was done at the state level, the city of Wilmington did request for a 3% tax on the sale of marijuana. Currently, in the state of Delaware, Delaware has a cigarette tax already, but all that revenue goes to the state. It does not come back to the city. And these are the type of funds that will go to fund our general fund that helps us do crime prevention, right? It helps us be able to expand some of our cold case units as well too, but then also address some housing things here in the city of Wilmington. So this is, again, it's not an end all be all. It's not going to fix everything, but this is, it aims to help a small situation. This is a resolution, so therefore it does not have to be voted on by the committee, and we will refer it to the next city council meeting to be on the agenda. Next, we will go to our first presentation from Green for the Greater Good with Jamila Davies presenting. Please take a seat and introduce yourself. And WITN, can we load their presentation?
Looks nice up there. Hello, I'm Jamila Davy. I am one of the co-leaders of Green for the Greater Good. I'm a resident of the 5th District. I'm a gardener, also a teacher in the community, and I'm excited to talk to you today about community gardening. And thank you so much for inviting us and for the opportunity. And can we go to the next slide, please? You had there, a garden plot at peak season. And here you have a group of residents meeting. This is one of the early meetings of Green for the Greater Good. We are a community group made up of gardeners, residents, and stakeholders from around the Rodney Reservoir that first came together in May of 2022 when we learned that the Rodney Reservoir was under threat, that the city of Wilmington had asked for money from the bond bill to demolish water infrastructure at the site with a vision of privatization and development. And we started that time meeting and still meet to this day every Saturday with the goal of keeping the site public, safe, and green and creating a future where everyone can enjoy its use. And that vision gets bigger and bigger as we go on. Let's go to the next slide, please. And so what is community gardening? There's a bunch of terms you may have heard, like, there's home gardens, there's botanical gardens, there's urban farming. Well, what is community garden? Community gardens are local, they are resident-driven spaces, and they are green. They're places where individuals or families or friends, are allocated like individual plots where they can grow food to eat, and cook, and share, and give away. And it's a place where relationships are built. People share their knowledge of gardening. People, labor beside one another and make decisions together. Community gardens expand access to food. One of the big things about the Rodney Reservoir Garden that people love was access to a place to garden. So many of us in dense Wilmington don't really have backyards to speak of, let alone those that have adequate sun to grow a tomato, for example. So, in many of our neighborhoods, we have lack of access to fresh vegetables. Many, vegetables are really expensive, and that's not changing anytime soon. So, it's really wonderful way to expand access. And then they're resident-led. People make decisions about stewardship. People make decisions about all kinds of issues in the garden, and it's what creates that sense of community, having a shared sense of purpose about cultivating the space together is beneficial. Next slide, please. So getting a little bit deeper into the impacts of gardening and what the benefits are. So, and this idea of food access. So the Rodney Reservoir Garden had a number of initiatives to give away food over the years, but this is one of my personal favorite, the free farm stand idea, where we would collect all the extra vegetables in the garden, flyer all our neighbors, put out our little chalkboard, and set up a series of nights where we would give away all the extra vegetables in the garden, and we had some plots dedicated to community production for this purpose. And then we invited everyone in to, take home some vegetables, to explore the space, and just spend time together. And it was really fun. We had cookout one time, and they call these spaces also sometimes third spaces, an additional space to like your home and work. Where you can meet and get to know people in your neighborhood you wouldn't normally get to meet. So this is something we'd really love to expand, and it's something we look forward to getting back to really soon. Next slide, please. Another major impact is outdoor education. And there have been, I'm going to speak to one example, but there were earlier examples, and I think some of our community members will comment to this tonight. But in the fall of 2022, one of our neighbors, who was a teacher, helped us connect with Lewis Dual Language Elementary, who was looking for somewhere to do their school gardening program with Healthy Foods for Healthy Kids, and they couldn't find any place. So he helped us cross that bridge and bring them up to the garden, and so boom, we had 450 new gardeners enjoying the space with us, and this was really eye-opening and really fed our fire for thinking about what this space could be in the future in terms of an outdoor classroom and how many more people it could serve. And so that really kept us going. Next slide, please. And so community gardens really they provide a basis for more neighborhood initiatives, and the Rodney Reservoir Community Garden is a case study in this act. So the history of the Rodney Reservoir is that it had this amazing history as a site of public recreation from the late 19th century until 2003 when it was fenced off. And then after 2010, a group of neighbors, led by one and only Councilmember Willauer there, who maybe she'll speak more to this, sought somewhere to garden on the west side, and they narrowed it down to the Rodney Reservoir. It was the only place they could garden, and they eventually got approval from the city of Wilmington to do so. So you see the picture of all the people up there. That's all the neighbors, partners, public allies who came together to design and build the original community garden there at the Rodney Reservoir. Down in the middle, you see Dirt Day. A lot of urban gardens have soil issues, so at the Rodney, like in many places, we did raised bed gardening, so we had to bring in the soil, and you see a Dirt Day. So every year, that year and every year thereafter, the gardeners and their friends carried the soil up, refreshed the soil, and these are some of the activities we get involved in. It was also the home of the first urban apiary in Wilmington. And then in terms of as a foundation for community transformation, this group that called itself Westside Grows finished up building the garden, which grew to be the most successful, the largest community garden in Wilmington. They asked what they could do next. And that's when Westside Grows together as a comprehensive community development strategy was born. And folks started getting around to doing a West Side plan to revitalize their neighborhood more comprehensively. And then, other initiatives like Bright Spot Ventures developed its youth agriculture program, and the Cool Spring Farmers Market was born. All kinds of initiatives came out of this, the vision of those neighbors and the relationships they built. Next slide, please. And so, fast forward back to we're closer to now, community design is another thing that came out of the Rodney Reservoir Community Garden. Again, as we saw our site in peril, we also saw an opportunity to activate more of the site. And so we partnered, Green for the Greater Good partnered with the University of Delaware, both the Bachelor of Landscape Architecture and the Biden School of Public Policy, to do community design and to give our community a chance to imagine possibilities for the site and to learn about the benefits of greening. So over a series of 3 events at St. Francis Hospital, we did just that, and the community came up with an amazing vision for a community and nature-focused park that would serve us all as green infrastructure, with the trees and the wildlife habitat and the rain gardens, but also be an outdoor classroom for students of all ages, and also to provide urban people access to nature and a place to engage in stewardship and develop that relationship to nature. Next slide, please. And the next summer, 2024, we kept going with community design with the University of Delaware. This time focused on the community garden. We wanted to pull more people into the garden space and to imagine how we could expand on those benefits, especially around the issue of food justice and giving food away, and also that idea of citizen science and as an outdoor classroom. And we had, tons of community engagement. A lot of partners got involved, helped us imagine how we could activate this site, and we went on a really fun field trip to Baltimore. That's what one of those pictures is from, to see inspirational sites and bring ideas back. We still want to go to a Philly field trip. Hopefully we'll still get to do that. And the recommendations that came out of this helped shape the design of the community garden that's, slated to be built. Next slide, please. So this is an image from our park that's being built up there at the Rodney Reservoir, our nature and community focused park. And, this park, will have, it is the culmination of the relationships and vision that this group of gardeners has cultivated and the many friends that have supported it. It's gonna have over 300 native trees, over an acre of native meadow, many outdoor classrooms, stormwater infrastructure, all of this. Of course, it was born out of that, and of course, many partners, including the City of Wilmington, who we thank vigorously for, getting on board, buying into the vision, and committing to it so fully, and of course, Hinge Collective, that worked with us so closely to bring it about. But so this is the statements there. We really feel that care for our community. So it's the relationships, vision, and care for our neighborhood that can bring about these kinds of transformative initiatives. Next slide, please. So, we can recap some of the benefits here. So the, research shows that grassroots leadership and community stewardship are the keys to success to community gardens over time in terms of both the social goals and the ecological ones. Again, that shared sense of responsibility gives people a sense of purpose, creates those bonds, and is how community gardens, build civic infrastructure and community cohesion. And as far as building community goes, these spaces are continuations of our neighborhoods. The relationships we have in our neighborhoods continue up there. And it's not just at the garden, it's on the way to the garden. Everyone you see and you talk to when you're going to get your vegetables for your dinner. And research shows that civic engagement increases near community gardens. And so it goes to show without, it's very clear then that we need citywide access to community gardens. Every neighborhood deserves this kind of space to build relationships, to grow food, and to build that civic infrastructure, and to have access to fresh local vegetables, and just to be in nature, for exercise, to get a break from the concrete jungle, for all those reasons. Next slide, please. So, this is a shot of the community garden. It's got the plant plugs for the rest of the site in it right now, but this is where the community garden will go, where it used to be. And we are, the park is slated to open at the end of the summer, and we are, really hopeful that we're going to be able to return to a gardener and resident-driven program, gardening program at the site. Next slide. And how you can help us. Here's some of our great friends around the city and the state here. First of all, please, become a champion for community gardens. Uplift the work of community gardeners everywhere. Share your knowledge about how community gardens benefit our communities and strengthen our neighborhoods. Expand community gardening in your district and around the city. If there are open spaces that have, that sunshine and are viable for a community garden, we ask you to support it. Where there's community support and interest for it, we encourage you to support that. And then we also, we ask for your support with the Rodney Reservoir Community Garden and advocating for resident-led models with the City of Wilmington. And that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. At this time, before I ask my questions, I will open it up to members of the committee to ask any questions first.
I just want to thank the gardeners, the neighbors who put so much time and effort into Green for the Greater Good, into neighborhood organizing efforts, and the City of Wilmington for working with the neighbors on this project, because the park that's coming about at the Rodney Reservoir is just really beautiful. We see it just transforming every day. So I know that that's been the product of a lot of hard work on the part of a lot of people in this room. So I just want to thank you, and also thank the City of Wilmington for developing this relationship with residents to make that happen. And I do agree that community gardening is a great foundation for a lot of positive things at the neighborhood level. So I just want to thank you for coming out tonight and putting together that presentation. It was really awesome presentation, and I want to thank everybody else who came out tonight. I'm looking forward to hearing from the other neighbors. Thank you.
Does any other council members have questions? If not, I do. First off, I just want to say thank you so much for making time and coming to join this committee tonight, and everyone who came with you as well, too. I 100% agree that community gardening is a great benefit to the community. But I do have some questions, and I know we've talked about some of them as well, too. For the educational component of it, right? How have you been able to connect people from the community with experts that understand the different aspects, whether it's what is it called? Not invasive species. When it's the opposite. What's the opposite of it?
You talking
Yeah.
about weeds?
But also be able to teach the community how to properly grow and what is beneficial to the area that we live in.
So, yeah, so that's a big question. So, one of the things that's beautiful about it, and is that, people bring knowledge. There is point-to-point education happening between neighbors quite organically. Some people have varying levels of skills and expertise, and you can get advice right there in the garden. And going forward, that is one of the things that we've talked about wanting to expand going forward. There is and we talked about it a lot at our design sessions this summer. We brought in Katie Pollock, who runs the UD Lab School and works with kids out in nature. And we had a lot of people with a variety of levels of expertise. We've been in contact. We've been cultivating a lot of partner conversations as well. And that's one of the things we really wanted the opportunity to do going forward, is to catalyze those kinds of opportunities that we have. We can use the outdoor, there's several outdoor classroom spaces, but there's a community garden outdoor classroom in particular where we'd love to get some workshops going, to facilitate, school gardening programs, and also different kinds of workshops around these different topics. So, we have, there's usually community commitments about certain things that aren't appropriate to grow in your garden, but otherwise people exercise choice. So there are a few invasive things, but we are in raised beds, so things are contained. And, people exercise free choice, and we do, yeah. So I think
Okay. And my next question is there a cost associated with this, especially when it comes to the water aspect of it and making sure that you're able to nourish the plants?
So in the past, when Westside Grows administered the garden, it was a nominal fee of about around $30 a year for your plot. So, and the City of Wilmington has said, I don't know what that's going to be. There has been talk of wanting to keep it free. But I know there's something that, I know that gardeners and folks would be willing to fundraise to make it happen so that there are no barriers, there's no financial barrier to participating. And we've also, another thing we talked a lot about at the community design work is how we can cultivate more models of gardening, so that there can be more communal beds for people who aren't ready to commit to a bed but want to learn to garden. And so to have some beds that are always, dedicated to community production, and for some of these really cool projects that are going on that feed the community through the fridges and other mutual aid programs, like how we can build that up. That's something there was a lot of aspirations around. And also we're drifting into the vision stage, but an outdoor kitchen, people really love the idea of, and I don't know what the City of Wilmington feels about that, but people were really excited about that as an educational opportunity for art, for nutrition, and for, cultural heritage sharing and so many things. People really love that idea, and we've seen it in examples around the country and the world. So that's another thing. I'm veering off from the cost to the benefit to the mutual aid.
That went into my next question about. I've sat in on a lot of conversations these last 5 months with organizations that have community fridges, organizations that are looking to do a fresh vegetable, fresh fruit to the community, whether it's farmer market style or whatsoever. And it seems to be a issue with trying to find, where they're going to get enough supply from. So this could be a small opportunity, a step in the right direction, and helping with some of that as well too. But then hopefully encouraging more gardens to pop up across the city. And we have the space in our parks and everything. And I think this would be a great initiative to partner with our Parks and Rec going forward in the future to as not only educational but health wise as well too. It's beneficial.
I mean, that was something we definitely thought of. We've kicked the idea around. We've had tons of conversations. Again, we meet every Saturday, so we talk about so many ideas. But the idea of being a hub that shares knowledge and experience, and we have this whole idea of phase 2. I won't get too deep into it, but there's that communication tower up there. There's a bunch of space that we dreamed about for a hoop house, and more beds and more citizen science. That's something we really want to do to complement the whole site. Which is itself a whole outdoor classroom, 3.67 acres, 3.68 acres. So, yes, indeed, it's a step in the direction, and may it be a seed that travels and creates more gardens.
Well, I definitely look forward to working with you on that. I know my vice chair, Councilwoman Will Haller, will definitely keep us all updated about how it's going over in your district. But at this time, I will open it up to the public. If there's any questions or comments that the public would like to make, please come to the podium, announce your name, and you have 3 minutes. Anyone from the public like to speak?
I was one of the initial gardeners, and one of the things, I'm an educator. Oh, sorry, my name is Phyllis Mobley, and I am a IB French teacher now at Mount Pleasant High School, but I was at Harlan Elementary for 6 years, PS Elementary, and also in Chester. And so when we started gardening, I thought it was a great idea to bring kids to garden. And the one thing that you talked about, how are we going to ensure that people get the knowledge, so to speak. Well, we have science teachers that are very engaged, that engage with the students in teaching them the curriculum of, cultivation. It links into their biology studies. But also, it's amazing with kids that when you give them that information, when I took the kids, they took it home. You saw the transformation in what the parents were feeding because the kids were coming and saying, I ate eggplant. They had never eaten it. One of my students said, can I eat this raw? And I had never eaten a raw eggplant. And I said, okay. And so they ate it, and they said, oh, it's so good. And I said, oh, it's good. Let me try it. And he was right. It was good. So one of the things that I think comes out of this is that kids are educated. The community is educated. I wrote something, and I wanted to put a face to, I'm a poet and a writer too, but I wanted to put a face to kids and community gardens. Can you hear the giggles? Smiling, sunlit laughter, light, airy, and fulfilling. Can you feel the joy, blossoming deep brown soil, rooted in expectations? Our children planting seedlings of burgeoning hope, cracking the hardened, cemented self-concepts of not enough, if onlys, and of course the I can'ts. Captive beliefs, now rooted in curiosity, in confidence, in community. Fixed mindsets now growing strong in nature knowledge, and growing strong and growing stronger. Strong roots taking root in soil, deeply carving, deeply nurturing soil, carving mind maps of stronger bodies, of healthier minds, of emotional resilience, grounded in community. Seedlings rooted, pushing past otherness, pushing past exclusion, pushing through what seemed impenetrable, and is now an opening, a cultivation of pride, pushing up, welling up, nurturing soil and soul, making visible their blossoming fruit, their fruits no longer invisible. And what I said, this is a metaphorical account of the impact that community gardens can have had, and continue to have on kids, especially those who are the most vulnerable and often the least visible when it comes to their social, emotional, academic, and nutritional needs, often living in food deserts. Our plan includes spaces to activate minds through storytelling, story creation, food cultivation, acquiring knowledge of green sustainable strategies and tools, having schools at all levels, both public and private, take part in planting, harvesting, and maintaining gardens, creating school spirit weeks where kids who might never or infrequently interact together get opportunities to collaborate and create, where there are cross-generational activities that build a more caring and compassionate perspective on aging and how resilient our bodies and minds become the closer that we are to nature and engaging in the movement of gardening that gardening provides. We would love our kids to discover the garden that exists in all of us and the opportunities to encourage ongoing cultivation. So, thank you.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Mikey Reppy. I'm a resident of the 5th District, and I live about 3 blocks from the Rodney Reservoir site. We've been there about 25 years. About half the time, up until it was closed, we were members of the community garden. And I really showed us how much the community garden lets you find your neighbors. I met people all around the neighborhood that I've been walking my dog in for 10, 15 years before we were gardeners that I never talked to because there wasn't a reason to. But when you're up elbow deep in dirt, it's always fun to chat. So obviously you're very pro gardens, that's great. I just ask the city council to support community garden in every district in the city, get people into public spaces, get them outdoors, get them playing in dirt, and grow vegetables so that we can have more vegetables.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good
My
evening.
name is Michael Sherman. I live in the Hilltop community in the city of Wilmington. I am also an avid gardener. I started gardening at the Rodney Street Garden. I garden in another garden in the neighborhood, as well as gardening at home. And basically, the point that I wanted to bring up was to emphasize that the community garden, when in reference to Rodney Street, as well as just gardening in general, is really just the tip of the iceberg of what this can turn out to be in the long run. Because when we look at gardening in general, we're going back to our ancestors. When we look at gardening, we're going back to there's an ancestral book that says there will be herb-bearing seed, and will be to them meat for food. The importance of gardening is beyond just picking fruits and vegetables. That's just the cause and effect. But the importance of gardening is that gardening is about life. It's about the human ecosystem. It's about how we are able to, our health, mental health, financial health, health in every manner that we can think of when it comes to gardening. This is what we were designed for. As far as we look at nature, the symbiotic relationship between humanity and the garden, it's you can't even really put into words. People who have with mental health issues, how gardening has been healing for them, how it's been a blessing to them. We talk about our children, talk about leaving a legacy for children. And one of the greatest things is showing them, teaching them how to put their hands in the soil, how to plant, how to sow from the food, from the seeds that have been planted. I mean, I believe if the city gets behind this, I guarantee you within a 5-year period, you will see drastic change in ways that you can never imagine as you would begin to see how this garden could really help the city as a whole. That people far and wide would be able to say, hey, you heard about the city of Wilmington? Hey, it's called the city of Eden. Why? Because they got community gardens all over the place. and how the people as a whole have been delivered and been blessed because of the garden. Everyone should have a garden. Everyone should be a gardener.
Amen.
Well, I don't know how I'm going to follow that, but my name's April Collins. I live right across from the new Rodney Reservoir Park. I've been in the community for about 8 years. I'm a gardener. I'm a member of Green for the Greater Good. I'm a community health nurse. I've been a community health nurse for 13 years. So I just wanted to talk about the benefits that I've had from the garden, as well as the benefits to the individual, the household, and the community as a whole. So I applied for my community plot in 2019, in the fall of 2019, after looking all summer through the rails at people gardening up there and how happy they were, not knowing that 6 months later the world was going to shut down from the pandemic. So I got my plot in March of 2020, and I cannot tell you how much of a benefit that was to my mental health. Being a nurse during COVID, my stress level, my anxiety level was off the charts. So being able to go up to the garden and feel the sunshine and hear the birds and feel your hands in the soil, it was huge. It was huge. But I wanted to highlight, and Jamila talked about a lot of this, about the benefits of community gardening on public health. But for the individual, studies have shown that community gardening has a significant impact on physical health, on your diet, on your exercise, as well as your mental health. It lowers your stress, your anxiety, it lowers your blood pressure. So that's the benefit you see at the individual level, and then you can see trickles of how that expands. So to the household, there's the benefit of having access to fresh, healthy food. I live in a food desert, so having the benefit of being able to just walk across the street and get vegetables out of my own garden was huge. And then as that circle expands again to the community, the public health benefit to that social interaction, getting to know your neighbors, like Mikey said, building community. I mean, out of that community garden, Green for the Greater Good was started, and we advocated for a public park, and look where that's got us today. So that's the benefit to the community, and then the city as a whole, we have to talk about the benefits of environmental health to the city, about reducing that heat island, reducing stormwater drain off. There's the aspect of providing a space for natural wildlife, a habitat, and just the beautification of the city and the community. So I just wanted to highlight those benefits. I don't think anyone here disagrees about the benefits of community gardening, but as a nurse from a public health issue, I just wanted to highlight those benefits, and I look forward to continuing to work with the city to make this community garden happen. So thank you.
We have someone online. Oh, okay, let me go online real quick. Kaylee K, you're virtual.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Yeah, my name is Kylie Kimmel, and I am in the 5th District. I live on 9th Street between Rodney and Clayton, so I face the reservoir. I purchased my house with my husband in 2018, and part of the reason that we chose where we decided to buy was because of the green space that we were going to have the benefit of looking at and enjoying as we establish roots in this community. And I think that I am also a registered nurse, and April just did a really beautiful job of expressing a lot of the things that I had my hand raised for. I just want to echo talking about the importance of lowering the heat in cities where we're typically degrees hotter than our neighboring counterparts, how important that is for people and children with asthma, and the benefits to mental health in our communities. And just, apologies if you can hear that emergency on the phone. um, talking about the resilience that is built by green spaces.
Hold on 1 second. 1 second. We'll give you your time back.
That's it. Okay. Thank you very much.
Our alert system works, everyone.
Yeah, it's been active today. Um,
Go
just
ahead.
talking about the resilience and the importance that is in our communities and how we need these green spaces in order to build that. You know, looking at the video, I see so many faces that I only know as my neighbors and members of my community because of the space across the street from me. And I just want to applaud Jamila and all of the members of Green for the Greater Good and the members of the City Council that have supported us and the other you know, partners in the neighborhood. And I'm so excited to hear the councilman present the idea of this being a seed and having gardens pop up in other places in the city. And I would love to live in the city of Eden. So thank you so much for my time.
Hi, my name is Tara Hubbard, and this is Faye Hubbard. We live about 2 blocks from the community gardens. We had a plot there for about 1 year, and it was very special to us just because we got to learn how to garden together. That was my first time ever gardening, and Faye got to see how long it takes something to grow. And I feel like she appreciated food a lot more because she waited and waited and waited for it to grow. We are very excited and hope that we can have a plot at the community garden again. But Faye, did you want to say anything? No? But yes, she is firsthand. She is the child that you mentioned in your speech about community gardens, community gardening. We thank you.
Carrot forager. Yes, forager, sorry. Yes.
Thank you so much for everyone giving public comment. We are going to move on to our next presentation. We have one more. L. Field. If you're still on, unmute yourself.
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Laura Filon. I actually live in your district, Mr. Owens, Councilman Owens. I lived in Cool Spring for about 25 years. I'm one of the original founding members of the pre-existing Rodney Reservoir Garden and also Green for the Greater Good. I missed part of the presentation because I was at work until 5, but I think probably most of the things I want to say have already been said. First of all, Phyllis, your poem was amazing, and I think it sums up pretty much everything that I wanted to say. I'm a climate activist and a promoter of grassroots, think globally, act locally. I think that gardening, community gardening in particular, for all the reasons previously mentioned by everybody else, is a really solid foundation for building community resilience. And I mean, through collaborative action, showing up for ourselves, teaching each other multi-generationally, cherishing and recommitting to our place in the natural world. We're going to need it to adapt to the realities of climate change. And that's the practical, pragmatic part of community gardening. Also, I've been a vegetarian for almost 50 years, and I really appreciate being able to affordably provide myself and friends with organically grown quality food. I love seeing the light in the eyes of children that learn that vegetables are really a great thing for the first time in their lives. I'm all in for, education around nature appreciation, growing food, being sustainable and resilient together, and learning, self-sufficiency skills as individuals as well. I think that the heat island issue is a massive pressing problem in our city, and more parks and more gardens are absolutely essential for our physical health. The mental health benefits have already been espoused by many on this in this meeting, so I won't go into that. But I fully endorse and hope you will support the promulgation of more community gardens in more parks and green spaces throughout the city. I think that this one can be a way shower and a pollinator for future gardens all over the city. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next person is Sarah Lester.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks. Sorry, I also arrived late. I'll just be super brief. My name's Sarah Lester. I run Cornerstone West CDC, and I'm a resident on 7th Street. And Cornerstone is the backbone and fiscal agent for West Side Grows Together. I think many people in the room and our amazing council people know about us, but I just wanted to say that I just felt like I would be remiss to not say something, and just to acknowledge that West Side Grows Together started up on, and maybe it was mentioned, but started up on at Rodney Reservoir, born out of that community garden of neighbors coming together, and Councilwoman Willauer was part of that, as well as many, or led that, as well as many folks in the room. So I don't want to make it seem small, that amazing effort, and it planted the seeds for so many programs and projects, including the work that we're doing today as part of West Side Grows Together. And I've been at the organization for 9 years, and it's been so powerful to see how these spaces, these green spaces, these community gathering spaces, these places where food can be grown and cultivated, like how powerful it has been for the folks who live around these spaces, and the love and stewardship that I have been able to witness. I'm honored to have been part of, and I'm very excited about the new space, and very supportive of the work that Green for the Greater Good has done to champion and talk about stewardship of this space, as well as I appreciate the City of Wilmington's involvement as far as having that be a park and community garden in the future. So just really excited about this conversation. I'm glad it's happening. I'm sorry I missed some of it. I'll go back and read it. I'm Jamila. I'm sure you did such an amazing job, because I've heard you speak on this topic passionately many times. And just I'm a big supporter, and West Side Grows Together is a big supporter. And it's inherent. It's like throughout our updated West Side Revitalization Plan, neighbors have said over and over again how important it is to have these community gathering spaces. And so I just wanted to touch on that and emphasize the importance of gardens for that point of bringing our communities together. So again, I'm probably repeating what many of you have said, and thank you all for being there. And thank you again for having this space to talk about such an important topic.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Wheeler.
Oh yeah, thank you very much, Councilman Owens. I just had one final question. I want to thank all the comments. It was great to hear what the gardens means for everybody, and also just to think big about what it can become. So I love the inspiration too. And my question is, what are some of the ways that council can support this work at the Rodney Reservoir Community Garden, and also all across the city, as everybody's made really clear, like this is something that we need, to be supporting in every neighborhood. So how can city council support community gardening in Wilmington?
Wonderful. Thank you for that question. So one of the things, with the community garden at the Rodney in particular, we'd love your support, like getting over the finish line. We're so excited. You saw that space, like ready for us to occupy. That has been, it's got the pavement for the universal access, and the pavement so we can put those keyhole beds for wheelchair access to gardening. And so, we would love to have your help, advocating with the City of Wilmington to involve us in, opening that garden. The the architects are ready to do a garden build day the way that we did the planting days. We want to step through that door. We want to be part of leadership. We want to continue to have this passion here comes from, that resident-led model. And, we'd love your help advocating for that. And we want that chance to collaborate and catalyze these relationships we've been cultivating around this vision to actualize these educational opportunities and activation, and to broadcast that to other sites as well. So and so that we might be a hub that can resource other communities as well.
Thank you very much, Jamila. And, again, thanks to everybody for coming out.
All right. Thank you so much. We will move on to our next presentation, but before I get to them, we did have a third presentation that was supposed to take place tonight, Healthy Food for Healthy Kids. That was very on par with the conversation we were going to be having with all three of y'all tonight. Unfortunately, the presenter had a family emergency and could not make it tonight, so we will be going to our next presenters, which is Out Loud DE and First State Move. Presenters Jalen Powell, owner and CEO. Owner and CEO of Out Loud LLC. My Dia Barries, president, and Taylor Rockhold, vice president of First State Move.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are y'all?
Good
evening.
Give us 1 second while we load your presentation up. And there you go. Start whenever you're ready.
Okay. First, I want to start by saying, one, thank you for the opportunity. Second, I don't have a green thumb, but I would love to learn how to garden. I would love to learn.
We're rocking the green tonight, too.
We are rocking, in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, we are rocking the green. But as Councilman Owen said, I'm Jalen Powell, the founder and...
1 second.
Good to go back? Okay, sorry. I'm glad the alert system works. My name is Jalen Powell, the founder and CEO of Out Loud Delaware, and we are a nonprofit organization where you are not too young to lead, you are not too young to have a voice, and you're certainly not too young to make impact. We are youth-driven. Everything we do centers around our youth. We focus on empowerment, engagement, and education, and you can go to the next slide. Oh, before you, that's fine. You guys want to say who you are?
Can y'all hear me? Okay, yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Maida Barrios. I am the current president of First State Youth Move for the Delaware chapter.
My name is Taylor Rockwold, and I am the vice president for the Delaware chapter of First State Youth Move.
Thank you, ladies, for being with me. I'll break down our mission and pillars. So our focus is to amplify youth and young adult voice, create safe spaces, and equip young people for purpose, and then invest in leadership. Our two pillars are social justice and mental health and wellness. Tonight, we'll be talking about our mental health and wellness initiatives in honor of May for Mental Health Awareness Month. Next slide, please. Our holistic approach to wellness. So we do truly believe, I know the gentleman talked about our ancestral roots. We truly believe it takes a village to raise a child, and we do attack our work or engage our work in that process. So we do cradle to cane. While we focus on youth and young adults, we do cradle to cane services. So we engage grandma, we engage parents, we engage community as it relates to mental health and wellness and how to support our young people in their mental wellness. We have events where we will break out the young people and the guardians. So our young people will have peer-led facilitation while the parents are getting support from the parental side with caregivers and certified community health workers. We are also certified to train and certify youth servant organizations in youth mental health first aid, which is vital. And then the last part is making sure our young people have a seat at the table. So all of our events engage young people's input, and we work closely with legislators and youth servant organizations to elevate youth voice in those spaces. So what our young people say is their reality, what the challenges they're facing, if they have policy, interests, or suggestions, we make sure we elevate their voice in those spaces as well. Next slide, please. All right, so one of our initiatives is the My Mind Matters series, and this is a culturally responsive, holistic approach to wellness, specifically targeting historically disengaged communities, our Black and Brown communities, and our faith-based communities, where stigma is heavy. So we focus on community healing, healing circles, and restorative practices. Next slide. This is more of our fun and unconventional way to wellness is our Skate to Wellness events. We have currently hosted 3. Our last one was in partnership with the Behavioral Health Consortium and Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. It's a fun, engaging way to create the safe space for young people to talk about wellness. And what we found is when you create safe spaces for young people, you'll be amazed at what challenges they face. I've been in spaces where adults, have told young people, you're too young, you haven't experienced enough life. And if you truly talk to these young people, you have young people raising kids, raising siblings, you have young people cooking for the family, trying to figure out transportation. They're being adults well beyond their years, and they just don't have those safe outlets. So we try to create those safe spaces to not only have an outlet for them, but for them to get tools and resources of how to navigate life, how to manage their emotions, and how to get needed supports for them as well at home. Next slide. All right, this is where I stop talking as the adult, and I truly let the presentation be what our mission is, and that's for our young people to take over and lead. So I will pass it over to our president and vice president of First State Youth Move, who will share more about our youth-led organization.
Thank you. That is us on the screen. That is our current executive board. Next slide, please. So first, we'll talk a little bit about the Youth Move National Organization. So as we mentioned earlier, we are currently the Delaware chapter. We have chapters in many, many states across the U.S. We actually partner a lot with the national organization to be able to do events and stuff like that. I actually serve as one of our interns on the national level. And I know we recently just did a project where we're working on finding ways to figure out like what the real issues are at hand on the state level to be able to elevate that at the national level and get some work done at that level. So with the national leadership, of course, we have, like I said, guiding chapters all across the United States, and there's still some states that don't have chapters, so we're hoping to be able to build those partnerships in those states to be able to continue to push for the work that we're doing. We have lots of strategic partnerships, so connecting with key stakeholders. We work with various organizations all across the U.S. on a national level. We do lots of evidence-based practices, which is built on proven approaches, and then, of course, the Youth-Driven Foundation. So our board at the national level is also youth-led. Most of our young people that are serving in those capacities and roles are all youth voices that lead the way for the Youth Move National Organization. Next slide.
So as Delaware's one and only chapter, we don't just serve just a single community within Delaware, we serve the entire state of Delaware. So with that being said, that means we have a statewide reach. We serve young people all across Delaware and creating connections in every county, so Newcastle, Kent, and Sussex. Our programs bridge urban and rural communities where no young person stands alone. With us being youth-led, that means it's a youth-led structure. So our youth are the ones who have the guiding voice. It's not so much of adults saying, hey, this is what I believe you guys need. It's you saying, no, this is what I went through. This is what I think would be absolutely amazing to have in place. And with that, we have our adults as allies that provide support when needed. No matter what, youth's voice is the central voice of all the decision-making. And for our chapter, every chapter for nationals has a different focus. Our focus is mental health. We prioritize mental wellness, education, and support and prevention before crisis. With our approach, we have the goal to reducing stigma, having peer connections, opening conversations to promote healing spaces. Next
slide.
Yes, next slide.
So why youth leadership matters. As someone that actually got into leadership at such a young age, at 16, I understand firsthand what it means to have our young people at the table. I experienced foster care during those ages, those critical ages as a teenager, and so being able to just get into positions where I was able to have that voice and be the voice for my peers really meant a lot. So of course, when you have young people at the table, we have fresh perspectives. They are the ones that are going to tell us what's happening right now at this time, at this very moment, not what happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or 20 years ago. Of course, future impact, right? So today's youth leaders become tomorrow's community champions. Again, I started at 16, almost 10 years later, still doing the work as a young person, being able to, impact other people and get other younger people to get involved in the work that we're doing. Because without them, we can't do this work. Authentic voices. So having peers that relate to one another and know that they're not alone is super, super important. That's one of the biggest things that we found with the events that we host is that our young people are realizing that they're not alone. And it's so easy to say, oh, you're not alone, you're not alone. But when you actually know, feel, and see that you're not alone, and there's a bunch of other people that also relate to you, it makes a big difference. And then, of course, system transformation. So youth involvement, improving the service effectiveness. So just having young people involved just really diversifies the work that we're trying to do. Next slide.
So Maida had mentioned our town halls. Our town halls is where we hold, it's an event that we hold, but the purpose is to create a safe space for you to speak up and have parents and adult supports within the community be there to listen, not drive the conversation, but allow the youth to say, this is what we experienced, this is what I would really like to happen. These are the emotions that I feel. And with that, from our very first town hall, it was remarkable to see that we were able to create that safe space. And our youngest youth, being, I think she was 11 years old, was able to stand in a room full of strangers and give her testimony that these are the mental health struggles I go through, and this is how I cope. And you're telling me different things that I'm able to go ahead and say, maybe that could work for me. So with these town halls, it really is a full circle moment, not just for our youth, but for the community as well. With that being said, we identify the community needs. So the youth share their experiences and their challenges. Their stories reveal the gaps within services. You can't understand what exactly is going on with the youth and what they are needing unless they share those lived experiences. With that, understanding and hearing their stories, we then go ahead and develop action plans. So collaborating solutions emerging from those discussions. Young people take the ownership of the initiatives. And then creating policy change. Youth recommendations influence decision-making. Their advocacy leads to systemic improvements. And we've been able to demonstrate that pretty remarkably. And so with that being said, you know, our organization went ahead and we got the proclamation signed for Delaware to recognize May as Mental Health Awareness Month for all Delawareans, which is absolutely remarkable. And it wouldn't have been possible if we didn't do what we do, which is putting our youth into spaces and telling them this is safe and anything and everything that you need, let's make it happen. Next slide, please.
So for this, we'll talk a little bit about our mental health impact directly. One of our more popular events is the Mental Health Summit that we host. We just had our second one this past December, and we're in the midst of beginning to plan that now. Our Mental Health Summit creates a space for authentic dialogue and transformative action. There's lots of youth-led discussions. This past summit that we just had, there was over 60% of actual young people under the age of 29. And that was one of the events that we really saw people realize that they weren't alone and that they were in a room full of other people experiencing the same things from all different ages. I think we had kids there too as well. I don't remember the youngest, but we definitely had young children there present. So young people being able to facilitate conversations about mental health challenges and solutions. That first picture on the far left, that was a panel that we did with all different types of young people. We had some title holders and we had some people with lived experience as well as a coach and mentor on the far right in that photo. In the middle, that is one of our title holders, and then we also had another mental health advocate come out and speak to us. But just having expert insight, so mental health professionals sharing knowledge and strategies in youth-friendly formats. Everything about that summit was youth-friendly, so it wasn't like super strict, super like you have to stay here in this workshop the entire time. Like it was very flexible in the sense it allowed them to move around, go to the different vendors. We had over 10 community organizations that came out to share their resources and the impact that they have in the community and how our young people can get involved with them. So of course, action planning, that's one of the biggest things that we talk about. Our goal is to really like continue to put our young people's voices at the forefront of the work we do. So anything that is shared with us, we bring it to these types of meetings. So we have participants develop concrete steps to improve mental wellness in the community. So again, just being able to give them a voice at the table, even if they aren't physically at the table. Our summits, again, bring together youth, professionals, community members, and everyone else in between to build lasting mental health support networks. Next slide.
So with that being said, our chapter recognizes that when it comes to mental health, it is not so much of how you're feeling and what you do about the way you're feeling. So some statistics is 1 in 5 youth are affected. Young people experience mental health challenges all the time, and it's not always just, oh, I'm really sad, or I'm really nervous about something. There's so many different emotions that go in, and it comes from so many different environments that youth are exposed to. With that being said, 50% of mental health conditions begin before the age of 14, and with that, only there are 60% that go untreated because they did not receive mental health services. And yet we have 90% where it's preventable. If early intervention was put in, we know that early intervention has the ability to reduce suicide risk and other risks as well when it comes to one's mental health. Next slide, please. Within mental health, we have a lot of stigmas where somebody would think, okay, well, if a youth is feeling this way, you know, this is probably how this is their demeanor, when that's not the case. So when we're breaking the stigma of mental health, we have to have open conversations. So we create a safe space for honest dialogue where young people learn to express their feelings, and that may be through personal stories and relations, peer-to-peer conversations. But with that, you also expose the vulnerability, but understanding that your vulnerability is a strength. It is not a weakness. Your vulnerability gives you the opportunity to connect with somebody. You never know what somebody's going through and what they need to hear. Personally, you know, with the org, a lot of my shared experiences, I've been able to connect with youth where they've pulled me to the side and say, hey, I've gone through that too. Can we talk a little more? And that's what we're looking for. With breaking stigmas, you want to make sure that you have the accurate information. We combat with myths and facts about mental health. Education replaces fear with understanding. If you know what is there, there's power. Youth learn to recognize warning signs, and they understand the differences between typical stress and mental illness. So we make sure that there is an understanding that life itself is hectic. That does not mean that if you're having a hard time coping that you're depressed or that you have anxiety. It means you are human. And we break those barriers down. So with all of that, we also promote positive language. We model person first, respectful terminology, as words shape perceptions and attitudes. So we never go about and go ahead and say, okay, well, with this, that's your testimony. That's not how it is for the full picture. No, your testimony is your testimony. That's your lived experience. And with your lived experience, there's value in that. And within that value, you have the ability to create change. So youth become the advocates who correct those misconceptions, and they promote dignity in all mental health discussions, because as I said, mental health is not just how you feel and what you do about it, but it goes into your socioeconomic status. It goes into your culture. It goes into where you go to school, your religion. There's so many things that go into mental health that you can't just put a single label onto it. Next slide, please. So with that, we have our approach to wellness. There are 5 factors. We have physical wellness, where healthy habits support mental well-being. We all know, we've always heard, 60 minutes a day, it's not only good for you, but it can promote positive mental wellness. But with that being said, the one ways that we do that is our skating events. It's not only a way for you to learn about mental health and develop those skills, but it's also a way to get them to move and interact with the community members and those who are in those higher authority figures that we want to go ahead and say, I hear you, I see you, let's make this happen. With that being said, we have to have a balance. Integrated wellness creates sustainable health. So with understanding and taking care of yourself from what you're learning, you create a better well-being all around. With mental wellness, we have your coping skills, building resilience against stressors. Those are those coping mechanisms that I've mentioned before. When we have our discussions, we bounce off ideas of how to cope with different experiences in life, where some people, like myself, I can paint all day and I will be good. If I tell somebody else, yo, go paint to cope, it's not going to work. So bouncing those ideas off one another to help develop those coping skills, because you never know what's going to work for you until you go through it. With that being said as well, we have social wellness. Healthy relationships create support networks. We've seen time and time again with our youth going to school that all it takes is that one teacher to say, hey, I see you. Let me go ahead. I know you're having a tough day. Let me fill your cup. So understanding that if we continue to promote positive relationships and a basic understanding that we are human, it allows us to continue building our mental health as a whole. And as we continue to build on our mental health and build our toolboxes on how to manage, it also gains into our personal growth, where self-discovery leads to identity and leads to identity development. Next slide, please.
All right, so the important question, why First State Youth Move? Given that we have not even been here for a year yet, we are coming up on our year in about a month or so, but we've done a lot. And the biggest thing with First State Youth Move is building that community. And again, just recognizing that everyone's going through it, literally. And that comes down all the way to our younger kids, our 9-year-olds, our 8-year-olds, all the way down to babies all the way up. So joining First State Youth Move, the biggest thing is really finding that connection. Again, we found that when we are bringing our people together in the community, they're leaving with networks and other people that they didn't know that was doing the work that, you know, they want to get involved in, or just finding that there's all these resources. Delaware is small, but literally there's so much out there for us. And I think that's one of my biggest goals with First State Youth Move as president, is being able to bridge that gap of what's out there and getting it into the hands of our young people. Peer support experience, again, so learning to both receive and offer help. People need community, and being able to have that peer-to-peer support is really, really important. So whether that's us getting into the schools, whether that's us doing events right here in the city of Wilmington, that's actually where we host our town hall, because we know it's easy access to our families, and it makes it, you know, more inclined for them to attend. Leadership development. Building skills through training opportunities. Our board is getting ready to go through the entire First Aid mental health, or no, not First Aid, First Aid mental health for young people. I'm already certified, but now our board will be fully certified so that we can continue to do the work right there in front of our young people. And there's other leadership opportunities. So we currently are still recruiting for ambassadors. We want our young people at our board meetings. We want our young people to continue to have that voice. So even if it isn't in a big setting, if we can have our young people sitting at the table behind the scenes so that we can continue to advocate long-term goals. We want to get some legislation. We want to get things on the local level to continue to help and, you know, build up our young people. Becoming an advocate, so similar to the ambassador, just really giving our young people the opportunity to feel confident to speak up. We all know the stigma. What happens in this house stays in this house. We don't talk about our difficulties. We don't talk about what we go through. But being able to give our young people that opportunity to say, hey, listen, you could become an advocate. I became an advocate at 16 and had to advocate for lots of things relating to foster care. And now I'm doing it on the mental health side. Because like Taylor said, everything is tied to mental health, literally. Next slide. Community partnerships, our biggest one. We love networking, we really do. Our first 3 months when we were establishing the organization, we literally just went to events to network, because again, Delaware is small and everyone knows everybody, but there's so many community organizations and partners out there that we wanted to connect with, because we want to make sure we were giving the best of the best to our young people. So we believe in strategic collaborations to amplify the impact that we have across Delaware. We partner with government agencies, healthcare providers, schools, and again, many community organizations. We've worked with the state of Delaware, Alternative Solutions, the Behavioral Health Consortium, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, and literally the list goes on and on. Together, we're able to create that comprehensive support systems for our young people, because not one person can do it alone. So although there is a number of mental health organizations out there, we all are attacking different things, and being able to come together and know that it's not just First State Youth Move, but it's us as a whole is really important. Next slide. We talked on this one a little bit already, but to continue on youth leadership development and how important it is, participation. So we want our young people to be involved in our programs and our events. We want them to be able to say, hey, you know, First State Youth Move is hosting this event. I really want to go. And we saw that happen with our mental health summit. We saw high schoolers bringing their friends to the mental health summit. So being able to just give them opportunities to get involved in the community and do something better than, you know, out there on the streets. Having a voice, so being able to share those personal experiences. We saw that a lot, again, at our mental health summit, and just people speaking up and realizing that we're not alone and we're all going through it. We just have to speak up. I always tell my VP that we're writing someone else's survival guide, and that's by sharing our experiences, sharing what we've gone through, sharing what helped us, what it did it for us. We all have that one teacher that did it for us, so how do we be that person for somebody else? Collaboration, so co-creating projects with peer support. Again, with our Youth Ambassador program, we want our young people to help us create these events that are going to be beneficial to them and their peers. We want our young people to come to the table and then invite their peers to come to the table and come to the event. So it's really all about spreading it, by word of mouth. Leadership, so again, guiding initiatives and mentoring others. Me and Taylor are really big on mentoring. I'm sure she doesn't mind me sharing this, but we were both in foster care and come with that lived experience. So we mentor a lot of young people that come through the foster care system here in the state of Delaware. So we want to continue that with everybody. Next slide. Last slide. So, of course, joining our movement. There's many ways to get involved. Our biggest one is becoming a member. So our growing community is huge. We do lots of events throughout the community. We also attend events because we also understand that we can't host everything, but we could also still be a face and attend different things. So we really try to be present. We never want it to be that, only First State Youth Move at this event. No, it's First State Youth Move every day, all day. So volunteer, supporting our events, coming out to help volunteer behind the scenes or in front of the scenes, and then creating those positive experiences for your peers. Advocating, speaking up for youth mental health. Share the message with decision makers. We are really trying to get situated in a position where we can go to our local government and realize that our local government is right here at our hands, and how can we use them to help us elevate the work that we're trying to do. Partnering with us, organizations can collaborate on initiatives because obviously, again, together we can make a difference. So we're always open to different partnerships that align with our core values, and donating to support our mission. Again, we have not been established for a year yet with this board, so we're still at that mark where we're, every dollar helps us to be able to continue to do youth programs, to get into the schools, and to continue to host great events for our community. We want to, obviously partner with the city of Wilmington and make sure that we are really out there in Wilmington. We know our youth need it the most. I used to work at a middle school, and so I know firsthand a lot of the challenges and experiences that our young people right here in the city are experiencing, and we want to make sure we're getting to them as quick as we can.
And I just want to close, that is our last slide, but I just want to close by saying, one, thank you for listening. I truly believe how I run my organization is we will leave the 99 to go after the one. And I truly believe in giving our young adults space. So thank you for listening to our young people. Y'all did amazing. But yes, we would love to support. Clearly, they run the show. I'm just here. I tell them if they want to go to the moon, my job is to make sure it happens. So thank you.
Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. I will first open it up to members of the committee if they have any questions first, and then I'll ask mine, and then we'll go to the public.
So thank you, Councilman Owens. So thanks a lot for coming and sharing all this information and, sharing a little bit about your experience also. I think mental health is an issue that impacts so many different people, so many of us in our families and communities. And I think every effort to create these kinds of spaces for healing and also for advocacy are really important. So I want to thank you for the time that you came to educate us on council, and also, these presentations get shared. So anybody who's watching, and so I just hope that, that you will reach out when, to council about ways that we can support you, and also make sure that, you continue to include us in your events and let us know ways that we can help you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman. Never mind. I do have some questions. First off, again, thank you so much for that presentation. And I think it goes back into what we heard from our other presenters, right? Community gardens can be a way to help, especially with youth mental health. One of the questions I had is, what are some of the barriers that you experience when trying to connect some of the youth with the proper services here in the city of Wilmington, and how can we as a city be better?
That is a great question. Y'all want me to start? And then we can, okay, I'm give a slightly different perspective. First of all, I'm a country girl, y'all. I'm not from the city, but love the city. Worked here for the last 10 years because Councilman knows. We will talk later. But to answer your question, trust is a big, big barrier. And I don't think it's necessarily the city per se in general, but those that are providing services, there is a big healthcare barrier as it relates to trust. So what not only trust, but the opportunities to get to those services. Transportation can also be a barrier. So what we try to do is bring our services to those communities, to the youth. Might have mentioned that we host our town halls at the Wilmington Public Library. Sometimes we'll partner with youth serving organizations and come to those spaces. So we try to eliminate transportation. Our programs are free, our events are free. We try to eliminate the financial barrier, but also bring it in. So when I talk about trust, I won't just leave it there. We try to bring in professionals so they can get a face to the service and start to alleviate some of those fears. I think just being in front of them helps. So we try to partner with providers as well to come in and speak to the youth, but trust and transportation are some barriers that I've seen.
Thank you. In one of your slides, you talked about developing action plans. I think that's coming out of the summits that y'all did. Can you speak more to that? Like what goes into developing those action plans, and how, like, what's the different input that you take for that?
I was going to say, you want to go ahead. So after each one of our events, no matter if we're attending the event, vending, or if we're hosting, we always create a post survey. Because what we know is that while you are in face, there are certain things that you might not want to talk about or say that you have an issue with. So with that, we always have our QR code out and seen. That way, youth and families have the ability to go ahead and scan the QR code. Everything is anonymous as well. So the way that we go ahead and develop our action plans is from those responses and from those conversations, those one-on-one conversations as well. Because what I don't think a lot of adults or people in higher authority figures completely understand is that when you give youth the ability to say, this is what I'm going through, without putting restraints on the way they need to develop that and make it known, it allows the youth to feel confident and safe. I myself was what people today would call a crash out, where I didn't have the tools to say, this is what's going on, this is what I need, this is what I'm craving. But when I finally had that one individual come to me and say, yo, I need you to just be authentically you. I don't care if it comes out and it may seem angry or outlashes, but I need you to tell me exactly what you need. So with those conversations, we get to the real truth. It's not covered up, because youth will cover up themselves when speaking to a principal, your parents, a doctor, because you don't want to be judged. But when you're speaking to somebody who is at a closer age to you, that has lived through similar experiences, we're able then to go ahead and take that, because what I went through then is completely different than what youth are going through now. The needs are different and they continuously change. So we have to make sure that we're tapping into what the youth are saying. May it be word to word or face to face, but also through our surveys. With that as well, we also connect with other people. It's not just the youth that we also gather our research from, but we just had a meeting with Red Clay School District to figure out, okay, this is the type of program you're looking for, this is the type of program we can offer, how can we collaborate that, how can we go ahead and make sure that we are addressing those issues that youth are saying they are having and what adults are trying to make sure are already in place for them.
I would say, to add to what helps me on my side, I sit on several boards and talk to several legislators. I will do better at getting to the local legislators, but I do talk to several state legislators about youth elevating youth voices, things that they say they're going through. And to answer your question about how do we develop our action plans, we tailor those how we receive those responses, compile them into data, and then we tailor our conversations and future events around what youth say they need. So if you say they need, just to give an example, they would like more support on positive coping. Our next event, we're going to make sure we include advice and suggestions on positive coping. If they say, hey, I would love to go to a doctor, but we don't really know much about like healthcare providers. Okay, we're going to make sure we put them in spaces that have that. So that's how we do our action plans.
I just want to add real quick 2 things. That actually happened at our town hall. Towards the end of it, there was a conversation that happened, and everyone was very passionate about it, and the need was there. And he was like, okay, Taylor, 6 months, we're going to make this happen in the next 6 months. So that's just a small example of when we hear stuff, we're like, okay, what is the need there? Let's make it happen, right? And I think also part of our action plan is doing stuff like this, right? Being able to come to meetings like this where we can share what we're doing and getting the support from you guys on that local level, because I think there is unfortunately a stigma that the people in power aren't there to support us and that we can't trust them. Back to the whole ideal of trust, right? So if we can build those partnerships and lead by example, right? That like, hey, these people are here to support us. These people are here to help us and guide us and do whatever it is that we need to do to come together as a community is super important. So being able to just say that like, hey, yeah, we met with so-and-so and this is what we're working on. I know we mentioned at the town hall that we have a meeting with Lieutenant Governor next week. So we told them that like, hey, these are things that are gonna be elevated, you know, and finding ways that we can get support from there so that they can trust that like we are getting the work behind the scenes and that they could also trust those people in power.
Thank you for that. I think both our districts are some portion in red clay. The other side of my district is in Brandywine School District. So I don't know if y'all are doing any work there. If y'all need a connection there, we have a few people in the room here as well too. But definitely, all the different school districts within the city of Wilmington could probably use some additional help with dealing with some of their youth right now as well too. I know y'all said y'all work with the Wilmington Public Library. They are opening a new library, the Think Do Hub in North Wilmington and my district. We would love to host y'all there. Just a plug since I am the chair and I can do that. But my last question to y'all is how can we help? How can we better help y'all lift up your message and get the word out there about what you're doing?
Y'all looked at me?
I will say, I think more than ever showing face. From being younger to where I am now, because I'm still young, but with that, it wasn't until those that were in the positions that had more power than I do, coming face to face and being able to have those conversations, being in rooms where you don't really expect your councilman to be. So even our town hall, Alexander Hackett came in for a few minutes, went around, talked to a few people, and I think that allowed people to know, like, hey, they're listening, they're there. So I definitely think showing face, being with the youth as well, and not always having such a professional viewpoint when coming to events and being with the youth, because like I said, when you get down onto a level with youth and you're on their level, you're able to connect more. And I also think that it removes that mask that a lot of youth put up where they're asking, do I need to protect myself? Am I able to be vulnerable? So I think more than ever, it's just showing up and letting it be known that I hear you guys. I hear what you're needing. And also, when you're having those conversations with youth, asking them directly, what can I do for you? Because I don't think a lot of adults understand that when you ask a youth, what can I do for you? They do have an answer. They do have an answer. And while we may not have the full layout of how we want it to go, we have an idea. And with that support, with Jaylyn, we wouldn't be able to do everything if we didn't have Jaylyn. If Jaylyn didn't exist.
They would.
No. If we didn't have Jaylyn to say, okay, this is your idea, well, let's think of it from this standpoint. We have to make sure that we have A, B, and C in order so you can get all the way to Z. This is how we could do it. How would you guys like to do it? So I think that type of interaction is extremely important, and I think it's a great way to be able to support us because, as Maida said, we love to connect. Every event, most likely we are at the local events, especially like we were just at Open Streets on Walnut Street. The connections that we made, we had over 60 additional signups to our roster than what we already had. And our roster's huge. And so being able to make those connections are just extremely important.
Yeah, I could just finish off by, I think, just seeking ways that we can continue to partner, whether that's doing events here in the city, in your guys' district, just to continue the work and reach more people, because our goal is really to continue to reach, as many young people as we can. We are statewide, but we also know that half of our board does live in Wilmington, so making sure we're catering to our young people here and hoping that we can get that support on a local level downstate as well. So just continuing to be open to those partnerships, ideas that we might have if we're, looking to host an event, having that support from you guys is really nice.
Councilman Hackett?
Well, thank you, Chair. I'm so sad that I couldn't be there tonight when I got the opportunity to see y'all on the agenda. It just brought happiness to me. You guys are doing amazing work in the community. That's what it's all about. I mean, it's not an event that I'm not at that I don't see you at. And the most important thing is you guys are reaching the next generation. It's like, how do we get them to be the next generation if we don't help them, support them, get there? So y'all are doing the work. I'm so happy that I get the opportunity to see y'all. Once again, if y'all need me, I'm always be there for y'all. So continue to do the great work. See y'all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Now we'll go to public comment. Would anyone in the audience like to give public comment? You have 3 minutes. Please state your name.
Phyllis Mobley again, Mount Pleasant High School, and member of the Green. Yes, member of Green for the Greater Good. It was impressive. I've never seen young people give such a great presentation, and also the leadership that you have in allowing them to take those steps. And I think it's very much needed as a high school teacher. Also, I taught middle school. I also taught elementary. So when you're looking at all those needs exist at all those levels, and you're absolutely right about getting down to the level and being not being the teacher, being the listener, being understanding, and being the 18-year-old you were, or being the 12-year-old you were. So this is something that I'm very excited about, that you have this organization, and would love to put you into contact with some people at the Brandywine School District. And I think we could start at Mount Pleasant and then go through there. But I congratulate you. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Anyone online? All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
That is the end of our agenda. I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
All those against, say nay. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.